Hello, Benjamin, and thanks for taking the time to come here. I know that you have big and long days, so it's probably not that easy to squeeze this interview in your day, so thank you for coming.
Welcome.
Very first question, what do you do at ZEISS, and where do you come from?
I'm an optical designer at ZEISS. I joined ZEISS 11.5 years ago. My personal background is I'm a physicist by training, so I studied physics at the University of Würzburg. Then did a PhD in mechanical engineering, did a 2-year postdoc stay in the US on electrochemistry actually. And then I looked for a job in Germany and I found that opening position at ZEISS.
And this position was about?
So it was in the optical design department for photography and cinematography lenses. And the background was on optical simulations. And that is the pattern in my CV before. So all the jobs I did were on simulation tasks. So this sounded for me like a perfect fit.
Okay, so you actually were among the ones who started working on simulations at ZEISS for cinema lenses, right?
Yes.
Okay. Where is your name engraved on lenses? What did you work on? What's your CV?
Okay, so when I joined, the last master anamorphic lenses were designed. So this was where I started. And what I brought in was the expertise on simulating lens flare. So this was a competency that was not that big before. So it was just that time where you had enough computational power to do that. And before, like the design was only done by an optical designer. You did not really check lens flare properties before.
Okay.
I developed those methods so that you can, during the development phase, do simulations on lens flare, ghosts, so double reflections in the lens and also from mechanical surfaces, and directly optimize that. And we started with that in the mass anamorphic lenses, then in the compact zooms, and the years after in the Supreme Prime family, later Supreme Prime Radiance, of course, and the nano primes, and yeah, that's it. Pretty much.
That's not it.
it's not it. So also of course the Supreme Zoom Radiance lenses then.
Okay, so you were actually, can we say the author of the flare, the signature flares of the Radiance zooms? Can you say you're the father to their, how they look?
They are my baby.
Yeah, you're babies. Okay, so you have grandchildren or new babies with the zooms. It's brand new flares or just taking the same formula and putting it on new glass, on naked glass?
I mean, it was quite some way to get to the Radiance lens family, because this was something we did for the very first time. So the methods I described about simulating lens flare before the Radiance family, they were used to reduce lens flare. So in the Supreme family and also in the Master Anamorphic family, we try to have the least possible lens flare. So we had those methods available. And by talking to customers, we realized that you don't always have to fight the lens flare. You can also use it as a feature, actually. So transform it from a bug to a feature. That's actually a pretty cool story.
Yeah.
And we developed the Radiance lens family, and we had a lot of learnings there.
How long did it take, just between the very first day you heard about it and the moment you saw the first lens, the physical lens coming from the factory?
Maybe 2 years, and then
that doesn't sound that long. It sounds short.
So 2 years till we had a prototype, and then like another year till we went to serial production and actually sold the lens. So all in all, I would say 3 years. Okay. This is also already for a lens project, a pretty fast project, I would say. We learned a lot with the prime lenses, and as I said, it was like a first time thing to do, and we didn't have any comparison on the market. I mean, there is no such product where you have consistent lens flare on a certain level with a certain color throughout the whole family. And it wouldn't be that hard to have that lens flare on one single lens. The hard thing is to get the consistency through the family. And that was a very, very big learning for the zoom lenses. This is a whole different level. So it might not sound so hard. You can say we did the primes, and how hard can it be to develop that on the zoom?
Yeah, exactly. You take the same coatings and you put them on the lens.
Yeah, you would say, but
yeah, that's what but it's not the case.
But the thing is, think of a zoom lens. You can change the focal length, so you can change from 28 to 80. So
that's many focal lengths.
that's many focal. Yeah,
Many,
exactly.
many focal
That
lengths.
is, and we don't have like 28, and then you go to directly to 40, and then to 50. So there's everything
unclicked,
in between.
right?
So, yes. So it's kind of infinitely lot of focal length that you have. And the main idea behind the Radiance family is that consistency over the family. And now, if you say you have some prime lenses between 28 and 80, you can choose the different glass surfaces on each one to get that consistency.
That's what you did on the prime set.
Yeah, so
Different glass.
I mean, the process is for every lens you look in simulation which surface contributes to what lens flare. Because there's light bouncing from surface to surface, so all those combinations show different artifacts. Some are focus, some you don't see, some are very, very bright. You sort out those that you think make a nice lens flare. Then you develop the coatings for those surfaces and you modify them. And then you look for one lens.
One lens.
One lens. Then you go to the other one, and then you try to replicate it a little bit. Then you might see this is not possible, then you change the other again.
Yeah.
And then back and forth, but in the end you have a consistent family. But those are separate lenses. So you can, on one you just modify surface number 1, 3, and 7. On the other surfaces. In a zoom, you only can change each surface once, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's actually a lot harder to get that consistency in the zoom. So you have to, in really, really small steps on focal length, look through.
So you're still going by focal lengths
Yes.
in some way?
Yes.
Okay.
So you have to go in small steps and look how the lens flare changes from step to
So
the other
you have
step.
to look at the dynamic of the lens flare.
Yes, exactly.
Because it's moving.
Yeah.
Okay. And you, Benjamin, you get to choose what pleases you best, actually.
Yes.
Is it supposed to match the prime set?
Yes, that's the basic idea as far as possible.
Okay, so what did you do? Did you do, okay, we have a 50 in the Radiance set prime, right?
Yeah.
So you take the 50 as it is, and you take the 28 to 80, and you try to get the look of the 50 and just look around it, or what was your process?
The complicated thing is that lens flare is not so easy to describe, as you might know, because it depends on a lot of parameters. So easiest case, you have just a bright light source. You will have different lens flare if you put it in the center of the frame or at the edge of the frame. Then it's different for different apertures. So if you stop down the lens flare changes its shape. And also if you focus, it changes a little bit. It's not so big, the difference, but there is a difference.
All right, so which one was your reference? Yeah, did you choose a reference when starting to work on it?
So we looked at everything at the same time. And this was the hard part. So,
Okay.
So first step, you're doing a simulation. You have some feeling which surfaces will work. The complicated thing in the zoom, you don't do one simulation like in a prime, but you do multiple simulations, maybe 20 or 30 simulations for the steps between 28 and 80, for example, or in the other zooms, the minimum and the maximum focal length. Then you do first guess in simulation, what surfaces would look good. You apply that developed coating and that T-star blue coating on them. You look at the outcome, and then you compare to the existing prime lenses.
Okay, you compare to what is, okay.
And also you compare to the other zooms.
Of course, because you're also working on the other zooms.
Yes.
Okay.
That's a complicated part there. That's what made developing the zooms even much more complex than the prime lenses, I would say.
So it's about back and forth and iterations and trying again and comparing again until you find the sweet spot.
Yes, exactly.
And when do you know you find it? When you have this consistency?
That is, yes, consistency, and of course also some personal taste, I have to say. So I mean, judging those flares is subjective.
Absolutely.
You can't say differently. So experience from the prior series of Supreme Prime Radiance lenses and having a feeling when you're close to where you should be. So it's usually, so it's not like you do random guesses. I mean, you do a first educated guess, and then you start fine-tuning. So usually you choose like the first 12 surfaces to modify, and then next step you maybe modify 4 more, and then 2 more,
How many surfaces do you have to modify in, for instance, the 28 to 80?
I think it was about 12 to 14, and we had in the range from like 10, 12 surfaces to 18 was, I think, the max. So it can affect many of the surfaces. But you also have to keep in mind the zoom lenses also have a lot of lenses.
Yeah.
So, so you have a lot more degrees of freedom there, and a lot more choice where you can actually change.
Okay, you have more freedom, but you have more decisions to make.
Yes, this doesn't make it easier.
And did you adapt your work after you heard feedback from users, from anyone from the field?
We heard feedback, but the feedback we heard is that we are going in the right direction.
Oh, it's good feedback, okay.
Yeah, really, we did not change the look that much. The intention was really more, since the primes were well received in the market, that we do the zooms as close as possible to them.
Yeah. Did you have a way to simulate the way it moves as well?
Yes, in a way. I mean, those simulations are really long.
They're long to render?
Long to render,
okay.
So typically like one night or so. So
okay.
you can...
If you change one parameter, it takes one night until you can see what it does.
Yes. I mean, one night for the 3 zooms, I would say. Sometimes also multiple configurations. You get some knowledge on how it works. And
so you got the moving simulation?
Not smoothly moving. It was like
step by step.
Step by step.
Okay.
But still, we had a good idea how it will look.
And were you aiming at something in the way it moved, or did you have something in mind that it should look like?
I mean, yes, not too drastic changes in the movement.
Okay.
I would say so, keeping it smooth but interesting at the same time.
Okay, that people want to use it for this.
Yes.
So
I mean, this is absolutely unique features in the Supreme Zoom Radiance. That
I haven't seen them yet.
You need to have a look at them. So
I do.
This is a really unique feature, how the lens flare organically moves when you zoom from minimum to maximum focal length. This is something really I have not seen before, and I'm really, really looking forward to seeing that in any production in the future, because this is a really nice feature. Did
you get to look at pictures from other brands' zooms with moving flares? Because for the primes you studied many lenses.
Yeah.
Did you do the same thing here or not at all?
Actually? No, this time not. So we stick to the original shots that we took there because they defined the look for the primes. And as I said, we wanted to go close to that again. Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm also not really aware of a zoom that shows those features. So
people wanted to avoid them anyway, so we wouldn't see them.
Yeah.
It was a mistake back in the day. So you create mistakes.
Yeah.